Yesterday, I have given the characteristics of bryophytes. I have mentioned that liverworts and mosses are bryophytes, but I did not complete that second one, mosses. It can be a 2 mark question in the theory exam. Mosses are bryophytes because they exhibit all the characteristics of bryophytes, but they are different from liverworts. We will try to understand that part. How do mosses differ from liverworts? Before that, let me take examples of mosses. Funaria. NCERT gives the photograph of this plant. Upper portion is sporophyte and lower part is gametophyte. I mentioned that in bryophyte, sporophyte is short-lived and it depends on gametophyte for food, support, etc. Gametophytic stage is dominant in any bryophyte. That is true here. Sphagnum. Did I mention this yesterday? Peat moss. It's also used as a packaging materials. It's also used in the production of biofuels. Okay. And another one is Polytrichum. The following mosses, there are hundreds of species, but we will try to focus only NCERT examples. The following mosses, the following bryophytes differ from liverworts, such as Markantia. I have given the example of Markantia, that is liverwort, in the following aspects. First thing is here, no Jamma cups. I have mentioned that in liverworts, there are special type of receptacles. Asexual birds develop on receptacles. They are called Jamma. When they are detached, they develop into new thallus, new organisms. We don't find any such asexual birds. But here in mosses, spores are produced by sporophytes. There is alternation of generation. These spores germinate. It means they divide and develop into a gametophyte. I hope you can understand that. See, sporophyte in any bryophyte or in any plant, spores are produced by sporophyte. There is meiosis here. Afterwards, spores undergo mitosis and develop into gametophyte. Gametophyte will have antheridia and archegonia. Antheridia produce male gamete. Archegonium will have female gamete. Gametes fuse to form zygote. Zygote undergoes mitosis to form sporophyte. That's alternation of generation. But in mosses, the spores germinate into gametophyte. At that stage, the developing gametophyte is called protonema. We do not find protonema in liverworts, Markantia. This protonema further develops into secondary protonema. Number of cells increases. One single haploid spore undergoes mitosis repeatedly. See, mitosis division to form gametophyte. It means protonema is the developing gametophyte. Okay. This gametophyte is filamentous. Looks like fungal hypha, filamentous type, branched, photosynthetic. There is fragmentation. Protonema of mosses undergo fragmentation and sexual reproduction, and also budding, but it can't be Jammaka. After some time, the secondary protonema will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 leaves. That's called leafy stage. This thing will have antheridia at the apex, antheridia, male reproductive structure and female reproductive structure. That is archegonia, flask-shaped archegonia. I mentioned that. What type of sperms are released? Biflagellated sperms. They go inside the flask-shaped archegonia. There is syngamy. But that zygote after syngamy, after fertilization, doesn't become independent developing stage. It develops inside the it develops inside the gametophyte only. See, this is still here. It's gametophyte. All right, gametophytic stage. From spores we get gametophyte. I said protonema, secondary protonema. It means they are intermediate developing gametophytes. That's all. This type of structure will not be there in other category of bryophytes such as Marchantia liverworts. That's what I have asked in the beginning. Differences between mosses and liverworts. Mosses and liverworts are bryophytes only. They have many common characteristics. So you can say avascular plants. They are avascular plants. They don't have true shoot system and root system. There is no independent sporophytic stage. Sporophyte depends on gametophyte. Reduced sporophytic stage depends on the gametophyte. Biflagellated sperms, flask-shaped archegonia. Then ecological significance. They appear first. Mosses appear first, along with lichens, in any bare rock, open soil, open area. And other communities of plants and animals appear slowly after some time. First community will be like this only, bryophyte only. Okay. And then we can say bryophytes are very common type of plants in places where there is sufficient water, nearby water bodies, damp places or moist places. So they are not strictly aquatic. They are not terrestrial also. They are called amphibians of plant kingdom. You can just list 5 characteristics of bryophytes easily. But then when it comes to need, you should be in a position to differentiate liverworts from that of mosses. So mosses are bryophytes, but they show developing gametophytes such as protonema, secondary protonema. Protonema and secondary protonema undergo asexual reproduction called budding or fragmentation. Photosynthesis, filamentous, developing structure. Afterwards, it becomes leafy gametophyte, leaf-like gametophyte. It's not actually true leaf. Then that will become like this. Antheridia, male gametes are formed, and then archegonium non-motile inside this flask-shaped archegonium. There will be an egg. This thing goes inside the archegonium. There is fertilization, zygote. So zygote will be attached to the zygote will be inside the gametophyte only. It means it is attached to gametophyte only. That zygote slowly develops into sporophyte. In many cases, sporophyte shows foot, seta, capsule like this. You can see this type of labeling in your textbook. Finaria shows lower gametophyte, upper sporophyte. The sporophyte is normally differentiated into capsule, seta, foot. But that cannot be a difference between mosses and liverworts. In many species of liverworts, the sporophyte is differentiated into like this: foot, seta, capsule. The capsule will open up due to pressure when whole thing is dried up in the matured stage, a developed stage. The spores are released into air. The spores then become gametophyte. Okay. So sporophyte shows foot, seta, capsule. inside this spores are formed. Inside this cells undergo meiosis. Is that clear? Examples of mosses. Then characteristics of mosses. Developing gametophyte. Then sporophyte, the sporophyte develops inside the gametophyte like this, parts of sporophyte. Then other characters will be same as that of bryophytes. Having studied characteristics of mosses, now we shall understand the next part of this. Bryophyte, pteridophytes are all lower forms. So we shall understand characteristics of pteridophytes. Have you seen any pteridophytes? Coelotum, simplest pteridophyte. Okay, it belongs to class Coleopsida. Then horsetails. You can find the photograph of horsetails. Equisetum. Sphenopsida. This is the name of the class. Then Lycopodium and Selaginella, they belong to Lycopsida class. Then fourth important category of pteridophytes, Pteropsida. Teres, Adianthum, Dryopteres. Now, these are all ornamental plants. Some pteridophytes also have medicinal value. They are the most common plants in the region which is close to river, pond, etc., water bodies. But they are terrestrial plants, vascular plants, seedless plants, no flower, no seed. Vascular, because all the following plants have xylem, have you heard of this? Water conducting tissue, and phloem, food conducting tissue. No seeds, no flower, no fruits. Terrestrial, they do not normally grow in water bodies. First, terrestrial plants. In theory, they can also give 5-mark question like this. Mention the characteristics of pteridophytes. This is classification. This division includes thousands of species, but I will take only the NCERT examples. Coelotum, horsetails, commonly called as ferns, they are all pteridophytes. All the following plants are pteridophytes because of one reason, that is, sporophyte is independent. I hope you can understand this very well. In bryophytes, sporophyte depends on gametophyte for food, nutrition, protection, everything. Sporophyte of bryophyte cannot grow independently, but it grows here independently. Gametophytes and sporophytes don't depend on each other, they are independent stages. There is alternation of generation. Gametophyte is not dominant here. Sporophyte is the dominant stage in the life cycle. It means it lasts for longer time. All the following plants are pteridophytes because another reason, there is developing gametophyte called prothallus, no protonema here, prothallus, bisexual. It has both antheridia and archegonia. Okay, bisexual. Photosynthetic, small, inconspicuous in the initial stage, and later it will become conspicuous, visible. Okay, this develops from spores, just like bryophytes. Pteridophytes also release spores, but here spores are released by, spores, haploid spores are produced by meiosis. Just now I explained. Spores, haploid spores divide and develop into gametophyte, prothallus, and then it will become a new gametophytic plant. Actual plant is sporophyte here. Remember, in all vascular plant body is sporophyte. Bryophytes are non-vascular plants. Therefore, plant body is gametophyte. So don't forget the digits. Let me go back to this point. Spores are produced by leaves only. Leaves called sporophylls. Leaves only have sporangia, spore producing structure, like this. So this portion undergoes meiosis. Spores are formed. In bryophyte, normally the spore is produced by capsule, right? Foot, seta, capsule are the components of sporophyte in bryophyte. Here I don't say foot, seta and capsule. Sporophylls. Sporophyll can be like small microphyll. For example, in Selaginella, you can see this photograph in your textbook. Selaginella has microphyll, or bigger megaphylls in ferns. See, in such ornamental plants, they keep it in garden. All these plants have megaphylls, larger, but leaves only produce spores. We don't say foot, seta, capsule. However, some plants such as horsetails and Lycopodium, horsetails and Selaginella, not Lycopodium, Selaginella have got cones or strobili. The spores are formed inside this. It's not capsule. Okay, it's not sporophyll. It's like specialized cones. I tell you about this later in gymnosperms characteristics. They got cones. So spore formation, that is very interesting here in pteridophytes. The spores are normally here in pteridophytes homosporous. Spores cannot be differentiated based on the size. Same type. All bryophytes are also homosporous. Algae are homosporous, but gymnosperms and angiosperms are heterosporous. Very important point for NEET. Microspore, megaspores are differentiated based on the size. Mega will develop into female gametophyte. Microspore will develop into male gametophyte or pollen grain, like that. So we can't differentiate spores based on the size here. Spore has to develop into gametophyte only. In seed-bearing plants, gymnosperms and angiosperms, microspores develop into pollen grain, that is male gametophyte. Megaspore develops into ovule, female gametophyte. There is embryo sac or archegonia in gymnosperms, embryo sac in flowering plant. That type of spores will not be there. Male gametophyte develops from spore, female gametophyte develops from spore. Prothallus can have both male gametophyte and female gametophyte. Archegonia and antheridia. but they develop from same type of spores, homosporous plant. I said important for NEET. Often they take example of this Selaginella and Salvinia. In NEET they take often the example Selaginella and Salvinia. I took example Selaginella here. Selaginella and Horstains have cones, strobila. That's okay. But these two pteridophytes are of very important things in evolutionary studies in terms of phylogenetic relationship. I said phylogenetic relationship. These two are very important because all pteridophytes and all bryophytes are homosporous. Understood? Homosporous. But Selaginella, Salvinia are heterosporous. Then why can't we keep Selaginella, Salvinia in the next division, Gymnosperm? Why do you keep them in pteridophytes? They are pteridophytes because they are seedless vascular plants, cryptogams, terrestrial. They are pteridophytes because they produce multiflagellated, many flagellar present, multiflagellated sperms. In bryophytes, sperms or male gametes are produced by antheridia. They are biflagellated. In higher plants, the male gametes are normally non-motile, no flagella. Pollen tube has to drop the male gamete into the female into the embryo sac or archegonium, female gametophyte. Here, multiflagellated. So they are pteridophytes because multiflagellated sperms are released into water. Fertilization does not occur in water. Gametes are released into water. They go inside the archegonium. Fertilization is internal, takes place inside the archegonium. Egg is present inside the archegonium of the prothallus. Okay. These two are not gymnosperms, they are pteridophytes. So you can highlight the following points. They are pteridophytes because they are simplest vascular plants, seedless plants, multiflagellated sperms. Sporophytes and gametophytes are, sporophytic stages and gametophytic stages are independent. That is not correct. In these two plants, gametophyte, in any other bryophyte it is true. In these two plants, gametophyte is inside sporophyte. See, this concept should be very clear to you. In bryophyte, sporophyte depends on gametophyte. Correct. I understood that. In pteridophyte, gametophytes and sporophytes are independent stages. One doesn't depend on other one. In gymnosperm and angiosperms, it is reverse. Gametophyte is short-lived and that is inside the sporophyte. Pollen grain is inside. Ovule is inside the sporophyte. It means ovule and pollens do not, they are gametophytes. They do not have independent stages. These two resemble seed-bearing plants. They are pteridophytes, but they resemble seed-bearing plants. How? One thing is that they are heterosporous. Second thing is this: gametophyte grows inside the sporophyte. Otherwise, in any pteridophyte, gametophytes and sporophytes don't talk to each other. No relationship. One doesn't depend on another one. Both are free living. Photosynthetic forms. Grow independently. Alternation of generation. Sporophytic stage is dominant. Yes. These two are heterosporous. Secondly, gametophyte is retained by the sporophyte. Gametophyte won't be independent. Say here, when the spores are formed, the spores are not released into water. Spores are not released into air. Spores are retained in the thallus only. right? The spores, when they are retained in the thallus, they become gametophytes. So those gametophytes depend on sporophyte. Sporophyte, plant body is sporophyte because it has stem, root and leaf. So all vascular plants have got normally stem, root and leaf except this primitive Psilotum. So these two plants are of great importance in evolutionary studies. What did you understand here? What are pteridophytes? Classification of pteridophytes. Then importance of these two species in pteridophytes. Once again, what have you understood today? Just think of 2, 3, 4, 5 characteristics of pteridophytes. Over. Yes, pteridophytes are terrestrial plants. Pteridophytes have xylem and phloem. Pteridophytes are seedless plants. Pteridophytes have well differentiated shoot and root. Bryophytes don't have a root system, rhizoids, root-like, not root and shoots are not prominent in bryophyte, but here root and shoot. Then sporophyte is independent, it doesn't depend on gametophyte. Dominant, multiflagellated sperms. Sporophyte produces spores inside its leaves. Leaf can be microphyll or megaphyll. Microphyll in Selaginella, mega, bigger one in ferns. So spores are formed, homosporous. Spores go outside in the moist place or water body. That will become prothallus, bisexual, gametophyte. This gametophyte will have antheridia and archegonia. Sex organs. Antheridia produce multiflagellated sperms. Archegonia will have one egg. So there is entry of sperms into the archegonia. Fertilization takes place. The zygote develops into sporophyte. But normally that is independent. It will not be attached to the gametophyte. Okay. Then classification. This division is divided into following 4 classes: Coelopsida, Sphenopsida, Lycopsida, Pteropsida. Coelotum is the example of Coelopsida. Hostile Sphenopsida. Lycopodium selaginella, Lycopsida. Then Pteris, Adianthum, they are commonly known as ferns. And Nephroliphes come under Pteropsida. Selaginella and hostiles have got cones, strobila, instead of sporophylls. The spores are produced by. Then these 2 examples. They are heterosporous. Otherwise, all pteridophytes are monosporous. Secondly, here gametophyte is short-lived and it depends on sporophyte. Gametophyte depends on sporophyte, not the sporophyte depending on gametophyte. Sporophyte depending on gametophyte is bryophyte. Don't get confused with those things. So read the textbook properly once and then look at these characteristic classification examples. Then it will be very clear to you. Once you make the notes, you need to recall the examples 2-3 times by seeing the photograph given in the textbook, or characteristics, or its ecological importance, or its evolutionary relationship. So it's easy to remember. Don't just try to mug up the characteristics. Take a plant species and understand what it is and how is it similar to bryophyte. How is that similar to gymnosperm? Why is it pteridophyte? See, this thinking is required. This is pteridophyte because, so that reason should be there in your mind. Sporophyte is independent. Okay. And then again you go to NCERT and read from the beginning, from the first line of pteridophyte till the last line. Then you can get ready for next class. Okay. Bye.